Aloha, I'm Susan with letsfeelexcellent.com or the YouTube channel by the same name in how to stop binging and enjoy food that fuels your life to excellence. Yep. So this is part 2. We talked about in part 1 defining an eating disorder is someone that has their eating habits out of order, and we defined, what that would look like, who that person would be. And so now that we know our eating habits are out of order, and this is about what to do about it, okay? Because binging is a state, and it's almost like a trance. And so that's the first thing. I just want to run this through the 5 pinnacles and see what the 5 pinnacles can do on this. And the first thing we're going to talk about, this is state, big time. So a binge state is where a person they purposely don't want to know what the food is doing to their body, and they don't want to know about the effect of that food. They don't even know. Like I said, it's almost like a trance. Then the pre-binge state is usually one of pain, of sadness usually. Sadness of some kind, or disappointment, or hopelessness, or something like this. And so what it is, it's like Tony Robbins describes as a crazy 8. So you can't stay in pain, you can't stay in sadness because it's too low. We need variety. We need to get out of these states as well. So we need to flow with them. So there's too much pressure that would build up in that state. So we bring ourselves into out of the state of sadness, and then into the state of woohoo, and so that's the binge, right? And then usually after that is another state of sadness or guilt or something like that. So that's usually how it goes. What we want is to be in a state of feeling great about being healthy. Energy is just flowing through our body. The liquid is just flowing through our body. We don't have restrictions. And we just feel great. And we might not have like this much energy all the time. You don't have to. You can be calm as well. We're going to talk about that. But it's a place of feeling good. It's feeling excellent rather than having problems that weigh us down and put us into binge states. So state management, we want to really crack that nut for sure. And then, so many times people eat, they make themselves stay up, or they worry and then they stay up, or life just takes so much more energy than is necessary, and they really need rest. There is such a fine line, if there's any line, between a person that's tired and cranky and a person that deserves. I deserve it. So a lot of times that is what can cause the overeating or the eating imbalance or the binge. Yeah. Movement. How does movement come into play? Does that mean I need to go out and exercise? Well, maybe. But what I'm talking about here is our intrinsic movement. So many of us these days move from the outside of us, the outer part of us, the extrinsic part of us. And we, ideally, to be more efficient, we want to move from our autonomic nervous system, the very center of us. We want our movements to be initiated from here and then utilize our extrinsic movements. I mean, just look at it. Just look at life. Like if I had 50 pounds out here, like you can see my arm is outstretched. And so if on the other end is my hand, and if I had 50 pounds on the end of that outstretched arm, it would be way harder to carry it, that 50 pounds, than if I brought it in to the center of me. You see? It's the same thing. It's just a law of nature. Moreover, our autonomic nervous system, it needs and should be running mostly in a vegetative state. Now, when I say vegetative, I don't mean sleepy. Vegetative as in calm. This is the place where the tide lives. This is the place where the sovereign comes from. If you notice, a great leader is not always, hey, ticka, 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 ticka. You know, they might be like that for effect, but a great leader is sovereign. A great leader is calm. They make their decisions from a calm place. And our nervous system should be operating most of the time, and rare times on the other side, but mostly stimulated by the parasympathetic nervous system. Not fight or flight. In our culture, and I'm sad to say that it's grown worldwide, it's not confined to this country anymore. Most people are operating on fight or flight. This is exactly like going out to your car, turning it on, keeping it in park, and pushing the pedal to the metal and going nowhere. And maybe having the brake on at the same time. It does nothing. In fact, you know, a lot of people that are overweight or obese that are fine with it, and have just said, hey, you know, I'm just going to eat what I want because I like indulgent foods. That's what I want. People that are certain with that, and they usually are really, really nice people and really calm people. They seem like they're calm. Usually they're not. Usually they are so hyper within, and they use the food to make themselves calm. So, but actually the kinds of foods that they choose have an excitotoxin reaction, and it stimulates the adrenals beyond the normal adrenal function. You know, you're not supposed to be having cortisol and adrenaline all the time, happening all the time, and so most of us our adrenals are fatigued. So when we have that fight or flight going on all of the time, then the adrenaline is just firing all of the time, and everything just gets weak. When your adrenals get weak, your kidneys get weak, and then it just starts this cascade of ill health all over the place. So we want to keep everything functioning nicely, and we want to come from this powerful place within, this core, this calm. So that's how movement comes into play in this picture. Hormones, balanced. You can't have balanced hormones if your adrenals are fatigued. The adrenals are making a lot of the hormones, so is the brain. So if the brain is taxed too, you want your hormones to be created in a natural way. You don't want to be taking synthetic things. You want them to be utilized, and you want them to be disposed of. And so your organs need to be working. Your organs and your glands, they need to be working for that. Okay? Diet/cleanse. Well, that's what we're talking about. Although we can use the diet to reverse this. So because if you notice, in your predominant culture of raw foodists, there's no fat people, and the people, they all say, oh, I used to have this disease or that disease, or I was sick, or I had this or that. We need to usually come to these crises to change. And so that's okay. You see some of these younger people that didn't have to have so much, and they changed, and that was really good. That was a great move. Instead of coding their nervous system to be able to take more stimuli, they changed, and their world just grew exponentially, right? Well, these people don't crave. They don't have cravings. They don't binge. They just love food. Life is a party. They love food, and they don't have a problem with it. So I want your life to be excellent, and I want your life to work out for you. There are a few things, there's a few organizations in place, and a few platforms that are in place that can help with this. There's OA, and OA was modeled after Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, although it doesn't have nearly the same track record as AA. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't, but AA is easier for people because AA is about and only about getting alcohol out of the alcoholic's life. Change people, places, and things. And you can do that easily with alcohol and narcotics and other kinds of drugs because they're not necessary in your life. So you can do it. But with food, it's a little harder because we need some food. So it's more managing the pure addiction. And a lot of times in Alcoholics Anonymous, they do not get to the pure, they don't get to managing the addiction. They just take the alcohol out of the picture. So that's why those people still smoke, and they go to food, and they have problems in their relationships and that kind of thing, where people that are overeaters can't really slide on that with the food so much. All right, so if you want to get there faster, coaching is all about making it faster. And the reason it is because you're mentoring with someone that's been through it, and you have strategies in place. But here's what I do for people with the Let's Feel Excellent coaching. It gets you to want to do a life of excellence. Because I can't do it for you. I can't walk around with you in your 24/7 and do this for you. But what I can do is point out help you see where your blocks are. Help you see where you choose not to do it. And where you choose not to do it, then we recognize those as habits. And what we do is we get some habits that more agree with you, with what you want to accomplish in your life. What results do you want to have? Then once we have the habits, we condition the habits. Very important. If I gave you a list of, okay, this is how it should be, boom, 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 this would be perfect, you probably wouldn't do it. Very important to condition the habit and just keep anchoring new habits that agree with you. That way, when these memories come up, and that's usually what these cravings are all about, is memories, then you have new things anchored into you, like you're never going to get me to eat a donut ever again in my life. I mean, I just don't feel the same way about that, and all kinds of other things that I just wouldn't do around eating. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it just happened this weekend. I volunteer. I volunteer and I cook food that I wouldn't eat for people. And that doesn't bother me. So if it's around mealtime, I bring my smoothie, and I don't care if it's in a jar and people can see what it is, and people go, "What are you eating?" You know, I don't really mind at all. There's mosquitoes. It's been raining, so there's been mosquitoes around. So if you see me doing this, that's what I'm waving at. So I don't mind. I mean, that's like totally doesn't, I'm not defensive about it. It doesn't bother me in the slightest that people ask that way or ask me what I'm eating, or they put their head in my food. If they put their head in my food, I ask them, please, would they not do that? You know, because I don't want it. But yeah, so you want to have these habits conditioned. So you're just choosing your life of excellence. It's easy. Okay. So if you have some eating habits that you would like to organize, and all of this resonates with you, I'd like to invite you to a coaching session with me, and we'll see if it helps you at all. So to try such a coaching session, just go to letsfeelexcellent.com/SI health coaching. There's a little tiny form there. It just gives me your information, and part of that information is what you want to talk about, so that I'm the session can be just for you, and that's very important. I'll also put a link below, but I guess I just don't know really how to make it a hyperlink, so you'll have to copy and paste it into the browser. That's not real hard to do. You just highlight it, right click and copy, and then go up to the browser, right click and paste, and it'll go right there. Okay. The session is free. It's my treat. Okay. Hopefully I can add enough value to you to show you that there are alternatives to binging and eating habits that are out of order or eating disorders, so that you really don't have to suffer with them. Again, I want to invite you to share this, maybe put it on your Facebook page, or share it with others that you think would be ready and trust you for this information. It can be a delicate topic, so maybe you just want to put the link around, email it to people or something like that. It's common, but it's still something that's people are kind of ashamed about, or they can be, or they just don't want to talk about it. All right? So I am Susan Nutowitz, wishing you an excellent day, and I thank you for joining me. Aloha.